Ladies and gentlemen,
this is the Dental Up Podcast, brought to you by Keating Dental Arts, a full-service, award-winning dental laboratory. Each week, you'll learn tips and techniques from real-world dentists, bringing you in-depth interviews, motivating stories, current events, and sports. Here's your host, Sean Keating.
Hey everyone, Sean here. Welcome to another episode of the Dental Up Podcast. Our guest this week received his undergraduate degree from UC Irvine and a DDS degree from the University of California of San Francisco. He completed a one-year residency program at McCallen Air Force Base in Sacramento, and he's currently practicing in Norwalk, California. Please welcome Dr. David Doan, DDS. How's it going, Dr. Doan?
Pretty good. Thanks, Sean, for having me.
Oh, dude, it's so cool you're here, man. Been waiting for you, man. It's like 1:30. Let's get it going. It's almost time to get on home. Nah, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you spending the time, taking it out of your day. I know how busy you are, and thank you. We're actually have you here at the lab, so we're looking right at each other, and that's so cool, man. How did you hear about our lab? Tell me a little bit about that real quick.
Yeah, the practice that I purchased, they've been using you as one of the dental labs that they send all their crown works to. And so, the previous owner, he had mentioned that there's the least amount of adjustments that needed to be made once the crowns come back to us, and that makes his life a lot easier. There are a lot of dental labs out there that will be a lot cheaper as far as their fees go, but at the end of the day, if you don't have to send something back to the lab, patients are happy, they don't have to come back, it's a win-win. Dude, and it's worth it. It's worth it.
That's like a testimonial right there, baby. Let's drop the mic and we're done. No, that's so cool, dude. And I love it to where, I always start off with sports. Let's talk a little bit about sports. And see, I know you went to UC Irvine, and that's just right down the road from us here. Yeah. University, California, Irvine, Anteater, huh? Mm-hmm, yeah. So, dude, you have to be really smart. A lot of smart guys that can only get in over there. It's like it's a waiting list too, from what I hear, but it's just tough. But dude, that's so cool. But the football Rams are out there. Have you went out and watched them at all? It's pretty cool, man. They're out there by the old soccer field.
That's what I heard when they started to when they moved here. Then they had to find a place to kind of practice at while they were building their stadium in Englewood.
Yes,
and I used to work in Englewood before I purchased the practice.
Okay,
and there were sightings of like where they're going to practice, and I had some friends that would travel down to the UC Irvine campus just to get a glimpse of the Rams. So
that's so neat, dude. I was in Kansas City this morning at 5 o'clock and getting on a plane, and we came in through LAX, and man, I took a picture of the stadium, and it's not almost done. I'd say it's probably 60-70%, but it's such a trip to see it right there next to the fabulous Forum. Mm-hmm. And they redid the Madison Square Garden guys came in and bought that thing, and that kind of stayed dormant, for a while. It wasn't really that good after the Lakers left to Staples, but man, they really clean that up inside. It's all new sound system. So you got the Forum there, and then you're going to have this big old stadium. So we're so excited. And heck, I think we got a game next Thursday starting. And I think, we got one tomorrow night, I think. I think we got the Bears and maybe the Ravens or something. But then next Thursday night, it's all preseason, but next Thursday night, we got like a double header, like 2 different teams are playing, or 4 teams are playing, I'm not sure who they are, but I'm just excited, man. Thursday night, party at the pizza parlor. And so I get excited to go watch football and eat pizza and drink some Bud Light, because Bud Light has drinkability. So, dude, what football team? Who you like? Don't just say the Rams. Who you like? Who's your team? Or
to be honest, I'm more of a basketball guy. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Who do you like in
Lakers,
basketball?
Of course.
Lakers. Yeah. Can you believe freaking LeBron is here, man?
So the latest rumor is that Kobe may come back out of retirement, and that they're saying that Shaq, he mentioned that briefly when someone just interviewed him, and Shaq said, I heard Kobe may come back to to play with LeBron. Yeah. So I don't know. Just remember.
Oh, could you imagine that? Because he could come in for, he'll probably take money, but his Achilles is probably healed so much better than what it was. I mean, and to get through that, and he is so ripped lately. I mean, he's doing his own business. He's a business guy now. He's bought himself a big old building out in Newport, and he's just trying to make money. And, but he is chiseled and probably the best condition. He looked flabby before, towards the end of his career. He was, nursing that big old injury. And imagine him putting up 20 or so a night, just being there with LeBron and all the other youngsters. And I don't know. I haven't heard that one, but that'd be kind of neat. Imagine that, LeBron and Kobe, baby.
LeBron's a good guy. Did you hear what he did back in Cleveland?
No.
Okay. So where he grew up, the city that he grew up in, he started a school where he funds the entire thing for kids who are from impoverished communities.
Oh, beautiful.
And he provides them education starting from elementary school. He feeds them food because you have to qualify like income wise or something like that.
Okay.
And so he provides them food, tuition, and if they are able to get into a desired college school, he will pay their tuition.
Oh, look at that.
And that was a promise that he made, and when he made it big. And with I don't know what the contract was in LA, but he said, even though he's playing in LA, he knows where his roots are, and home to him will always be his hometown.
Exactly.
And that's where he created his school. It's called I Promise.
Look at that. And I never liked him so much because he was just always beating us or beating other teams, and he's just so competitive. Now that he's the Lakers, I love the dude,
Yeah.
But for him to do that, and especially
that's big.
The people in Ohio, they supported him, and then he left to Miami. That was a tough situation. Yeah. Then he came back, took him to the finals 4 years in a row. So he did his part, but to go above and beyond that to help these at-risk kids, and that's so good. And he could probably do it because where he's at there in LA, like the Inglewoods and Comptons and, some of the areas there, they could use the help too. I mean, because we have a lot of areas. I mean, you go 2 blocks off of Disneyland here in Anaheim and you got some of the biggest barrios and gangs, same thing. And every city I think has it. And it's just, that's neat that he does that. I mean, that pulls at heartstrings for people with, that aren't such sports, fans, that when they hear that, that's just a good humanitarian thing to do there. So that's awesome. Good for him, man. Well, good job. So we got Lakers, baseball. We're kind of we're Angel fans here, but it's kind of terrible. Baseball's so boring lately. It's like no one's hitting the damn ball, and it's strikeouts every game. It's like, yawn. Hello. We need some activities, man. Okay, I'll shut up now and let's dental up. So tell me, Dr. Doan, why did you get into dentistry, and at what point did you think, I want to be a dentist?
All right. So, growing up in a Asian family, you have a lot of expectations, and a lot of your, followers, listeners can probably relate to this, where, when you're growing up in this type of Asian family, you are expected to either be a lawyer, a doctor, an accountant, engineer, something that is, like a high-paying, high-skilled job. Yes. And so I was probably preconditioned, pre-brainwashed that I would become some type of physician, some type of surgeon of some sort. Yeah. So throughout my whole life, they always told me study hard, which I did. Took all these AP classes in high school so you can get the college credits, which I did. I think my senior year I was taking 7 AP courses.
Can you believe that?
It did help me. Don't get me wrong. I got sophomore standing, so I was able to get the classes that I wanted earlier. When you're registering for classes, so that definitely helped. And you didn't fall behind because you couldn't get the class that you wanted, the biology class that you needed for your major. I'll be honest, I was pre-med all throughout high school and college. And when I got there, I was a biology major. I think that's where, everyone just goes into that major, because if you want to become a doctor, that's the major you choose. Yeah. You can choose chemistry, you can choose biochemistry, you can choose any, science field out there and still apply. As long as you have the prerequisites for grad school, you can move forward. I took the MCAT, a couple times, I think twice or something like that. I scored, decent. And at the same time, I was working in pharmacy just to pay off, books and whatnot. My mom's a pharmacist. She helped me get a job in Brea, so not too far from here. So I was doing the school thing and then a part-time job, and seeing that field of pharmacy, I was exposed to it. Yeah. My mom provided us with a really great life. That was a possibility, but after working the retail scene, it was not for me, So I was exposed to it. I found myself doing a lot of curricular activities, a lot of pre-med clubs on school campuses, just exposed myself to just being a really good candidate for, med school. And then, after a while, I ended up applying for med school. I got waitlisted at a couple of schools one year. And then, it wasn't until after I graduated, I'm like, you know what? I don't think I want to be, on call. After you go home from work, I don't want to be on call. I don't want to be called in at 3 a.m. And at the same time, after you finish grad school, you do your internship. And in that first year, you have to work 80 hours a week, just to get by through that first year. And I'm like, I can barely do 40 hours. I need my sleep, Exactly. So then I was like, you know what, maybe medicine is not the right thing for me. And I don't have anybody in my family that was a dentist. They're all doctors, oncologists, OBs and lawyers and whatnot. So I didn't really have anyone to talk to. And so, shortly after talking to a few friends and some family members, I found out that, one of my buddies, his dad was a dentist. Okay. My mom's best friend, my mom's best friend, her husband was a dentist. The only dentist that I had, being exposed to was my family dentist growing up, and then my orthodontist. And I knew my orthodontist had a great life. He was a happy guy. Yeah. He knew everything that was going on in my life during high school when I had braces. But lo and behold, after finding out that there were these other dentists within like a 3rd degree reach, I reached out to them. Okay. And I just said, you know what, let me see what this is all about. And I had one guy in our circle of friends when I went to UCI, he was always pre-dental because his dad was the dentist there, right? And he always told me, David, come over to the dark side, join me, I know all of our friends are pre-med and all, right? But, come over. And I was like, nah, it's not for me, I don't think I can see teeth all day. At the end of it, after I finished UCI, I looked into it, and the dentist that was the husband of my mom's best friend, I went out to his office in Englewood. Okay. He graduated from Loma Linda. He was passionate about what he did. Oh, yeah. And so I was just a fly on the wall at his office, and he taught me everything that he wanted to teach me about dentistry. And it was a lot of fun. Oh. And I did this all on my own, where I traveled from where I lived at the time in Yorba Linda, went all the way to Englewood, maybe like once or twice a week. And, I wasn't getting paid for any of this stuff. Yeah. I was enjoying it, the hour drive. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? When I came to the senses that this is what I wanted to pursue, it was a big thing talking to my parents, because my parents expected, a certain career path for me. And at the end of the day, I sat them down and I said, I know you guys invested in me you guys wanted me to be that, that doctor, the big doctor with the MD behind his name. And I told him, what, I think, that's not for me. What I really enjoy doing right now is maybe I want to pursue dentistry, and they were actually very supportive. Surprisingly, I thought that they were going to like hound on me, like, no, you don't want to do that. But they're very supportive. That's and so cool. I took the DATs right after college. I wasn't prepped for it by no means. I studied for maybe like 2 months, took the test, did really, really well, applied. And then, that's great. That's what started my dental pathway. That's
a great story. That's really cool. What about, did you go to high school in Irvine or no?
I went to high school in Anaheim, Esperanza High School. Oh, Esperanza. So just down the way. Yeah.
They have a pretty good
football team.
Good football team. Those boys are mean out there. Now they are always up there. So that's cool. What about UCI? What was that like? What's it like going there? I mean, it's pretty intense, isn't it? Pretty tough, or?
Yeah. I remember when we first started off, again, there are so many majors that you can go into when you are pre-dental or pre-medicine. Yeah. But just within the biology field, the biology major, I remember if you were taking the undergraduate prerequisites for your bio major, I think it's called Bio 94, and there was 1,200 students in three different teachers who taught that Bio 94 class. So out of 1,200, that's what we started off with in that major, right? At the end of 4 years, I believe the class that we graduated who stayed within that major and people who transferred into the bio major, I think it was roughly around 400 people.
Can you believe that?
The filter that went, they took 1/3 finally finished with what they started or what they converted to. Yeah.
That's a trip. And then what about at, that's not UOP where you went to college. It's
UCSF, the real San Francisco school. Sorry.
What about, tell me a little bit about that journey. What was that like getting in there? And then were your instructors cool? Did you have a good, experience? Tell me a little bit about that.
Let me segue into that there. Let me give you some background information. When I applied, I thought I had really great scores. So I only applied to like 5 or 6 schools. But when I applied, my application went in, I believe, in September. The application process starts in June. It's an open enrollment is what they call it, a rolling admissions process. Okay. So if you get into June and there are 100 seats available, you have a bigger chance. Your probability is better, right? Yeah. But if the cycle ends in December, so at the end, they start giving out their admission seats, I think December 1st or something like that. So if they've already handed out and students who've already been accepted calls the school and takes that acceptance seat, then now you're fighting for 12 remaining seats. So your probability goes down, right? And so for me, I thought I had really great scores. I still do, but I only applied to like 5 or 6 schools. And when it went through, it was in September. And I thought, I wanted this one letter from my research advisor at UCI. And, I asked for it in September. In October, she went on maternity leave. November, she had the baby. December, she finally got it in to the ADSAS program that you submit your application. And so schools will not look at your application file until it's entirely complete. So this is an advice that I can give, to all your listeners. If you are stuck in that situation, just submit it as is, and then submit your, whatever remaining documents that you have, a letter of recommendation from anybody, and then just submit it to the schools individually. At least your application file within ADSAS is closed. Yep. They can submit it to all the schools that you paid to submit it to. Yep. And then, if it's going to cost you, if you applied to 10 schools, cost you the shipping charges to 10 different schools, hey, it's better to be in that earlier open enrollment like process. Around
June, and then instead of coming in at December.
Yeah. So that's what happened. My application closed in December, and I did get some interviews, and I did get waitlisted. Now I didn't get pulled off that wait list, and I'm like, dang, this sucks. I have to wait a whole nother year. But I learned from it, and my parents were like, maybe like you're too cocky. You should apply to more schools, but apply to some backup schools, and maybe it's your interviewing style. And I told them, no, Mom, Dad, like I love talking to people. It's not that. Trust me. And so then second go around, everything went in June 1st. And if the biggest advice that I could give to your listeners, again, the second nugget is what I'll call it, is to apply early. Once you're in early, and my application did not change. I did not change any essays. I did not change a single thing. I didn't take the DATs a second time. I submitted everything on the first day that it opened. And the only difference was I applied to more backup schools, just in case. Mm-hmm. When I went to these interviews, I think out of the 13 schools I got an interview from, or I applied to 11. I got interviews to 11 schools. Of the 11, I went to six interviews, and I got into all of them. So the funny thing is, when I went on these interviews, these dental schools would say, Dave, we see your application from last year, and we have your application from this year. Why do you think you didn't get in? And I told them that, my theory in the open admissions process, the rolling admissions process. And sure enough, they said, you know what, with your numbers, your GPA and your score, you should have gotten in. Yeah. And we don't know why you didn't get in. But the timing of it is really was the key factor.
Absolutely.
And so again, that second nugget, apply early, guys. Big key.
Absolutely. No, that's awesome.
Oh, sorry. And then going into San Francisco, my experience there was great. The faculty up there was so much fun. Learned a lot. I think, everyone's experience in dental school is, it's going to be a little bit different because it's going to be dependent on which faculty are there. And, the school board or whoever, the HR, whoever hires on these dentists, you're never going to know who's going to be there because there's a lot of volunteer faculty. Some of them will make your experience different than others. Some of them are more business minded. So they'll give you that background in that aspect. There are some that are more keen on like technique or lab technique or, and so again, everyone's experience is going to be different. But I think most importantly, it's the class that you come in with, which you have no control over. That's the admissions process, the students that interview you, the faculty that interview you, right?
Yep.
And so luckily my class, we were all very well-rounded. And so, we had so much fun after the first year. I think spring break, we went on a trip to Vegas for someone's birthday. There was like 30 of us in the club or something like that, And then I think after our first summer, a group of us, there's like 6 of us, we did a trip to Hong Kong and Thailand. And we all flew from all of our different vacations during that first summer, but we all met up in Thailand and we did our thing in 2 weeks.
No kidding.
So it was a lot of fun, but everyone's experience is going to be different. I say, be open-minded to, who you meet. Just be very open because you have to be with your peers for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
You don't want to burn bridges. So
how many graduated in your class? Do you remember it all?
We started off with 86, and then I think we finished with 82. So there's only a few that dropped out.
Yeah. Do you stay in touch with them anymore?
Unfortunately, most of them are up north. So most of them came from NorCal. Yeah. And so they stayed up and. There was a few of us down here, and some of them moved down here that weren't from down here. But I do stay in touch with just a few. However, what was I going to say here? I think another important thing when choosing a school is where you're going to end up.
Yes.
Okay. Think about where you want to end up because when you go to that school, I had great networks within my faculty that I got to know really, really well. My mentors, the people who wrote me letters of rec, and those are the faculty members who work in the surrounding cities, right? Okay. So if you develop a really great relationship with one of them, 2 of them, they're going to have friends that are like, hey, David, I have a friend that's looking for an associate. So, do you pass me your resume and I'll pass it along to him. And that happens all the time up there. So, I knew I wanted to be back in SoCal. So there, my network stayed up there, some of them may have a friend or 2 down here in Southern California. But, if I went to one of the LA schools like USC, Loma Linda, UCLA, I'm sure, my network would have been more extensive.
Yes.
But, it is what it is.
Nah, you're an Orange County boy again.
Yeah, born and raised.
Yeah, so man, you want to get back down where it's all at.
Yeah, it's the weather. It's the weather.
Yeah, it is beautiful out. Hey, so tell me a little bit about this. How the heck did you get in the Air Force there? Tell me a little bit about that. What was that all about?
Oh, okay, so it's a GPR, so it's a general practice residency.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and that type of residency was at a VA hospital.
Oh, beautiful.
So it's a VA program for those looking at postgraduate, dental school education. You go either 2 routes. You either go to a specialty school like endodontics, periodontics, orthodontics, or something like that, or you do a 1-year residency to just get a little bit more training, more specialized training in something. There's the AEGD, the Advanced Dental Education System, and where you can learn more about like sedation and implants and veneers and like stuff that dental school doesn't. They might touch upon a little bit, but you'll get more hands-on experience, and it's more clinical. The VA hospital, it's typically more hospital based. It's you learn more about the medicine side. You really look at the patient as a whole. You can really see like what medications are taking. If someone has some type of blood disorder or on some type of blood thinner, what labs to ask them for, what their numbers are, because that may determine their post-op, healing, right? And what medications they should stop taking, so you treat the patients a little bit more. But at the VA hospital, the one that I was at,
where was that at? What state?
It was in California, and it was in Sacramento.
Oh, okay.
But that hospital was at the Air Force Base, right?
Okay.
And so during my education there, it was a dental clinic. It wasn't a hospital at all.
Okay.
So my experience through the VA system was more clinic-based. And the great thing about the VA hospital is, if the veterans qualify for dental care, then you can treat them in the most ideal treatment plan, and finances, money is not an issue.
Yeah, it's all paid for.
Yeah,
so we work with the VA. We love it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like we do the VA in Loma Linda, and doing that it's our 5th year going on now, and we got one out in Vegas and one in Long Beach, and then we might be getting this one out in the big headquarters out in Texas, maybe. But
very nice.
You got to put bids out, and they look at your work, and they look at your reputation, and we're just it's just the neatest thing. We actually got a meeting again. We go out each year and meet with all the doctors at the VA at Loma Linda, but they have a new facility they just had done like 2-3 years ago, and it's state of the art, so huge, and it's amazing. But it's good to get back to our guys, and man, fought for our freedoms, and
and the reason why I chose that was because I knew it would allow me to learn about implants. You know, dental implants. I placed several of them when I was in my residency. You can't really place anything in dental school, but I was familiar with it. I was comfortable with it. After like 1 or 2 implant placements, I was really comfortable with it to just do it right out of residency.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
that takes some balls.
Yeah,
dude.
I mean, it was a great program, but again, Sacramento, the weather is not that great.
It's flatland out there, baby. It's flatland. Remember the Sacramento Kings? Are they still a basketball team?
Yeah.
Lord, no. Yeah. I remember when the Maloof brothers owned them. The guys that own, I think the Rio or something. But no, that's great, dude. So what about tell me some of your CE, man. Where did you go in some of your CEs, like implants, sinking implants, everything else? Do you do like endo? Tell me what you like to do, what you don't like to do, what you refer out. But tell me a little bit about some of your CE and what you've kind of picked up as how long you been out of school
7
for?
years.
Oh, you're just a puppy. But no, you got great hands, man. But tell me a little bit about some of your CE journey there, if you could.
Yeah. As far as continuing education credits, I had an oral surgeon out when I was in Inglewood, and he would a few times a year he would throw these great CE lectures. He would wine and dine us, but it would be like 50 general dentists there. But he was such a funny and charismatic guy that it made learning different various topics of dentistry much more enjoyable.
Yes.
So it's not really all just about just taking it in, because I think some of this material can be very, dry sometimes, but learning it from someone that's very experienced, learning from it who is passionate about it, it really sticks with you, and he would give us like binders of all information and very, it's not, it was like good quality stuff, because he really cared about how his teachings impacts all of us in the dentistry field,
That's great.
So it's not just like cheap fax paper or something like that. The paper was good quality. Everything was printed in color, so he allowed us to use those resources in our future, to just revert back to it and whatnot. And whatever comes along, I get CE notifications in the mail and via email. And for me, I just kind of pick and choose whatever I enjoy or something that's a little bit interesting. And I usually also like to hear from other peers. When I worked in Inglewood, I worked over there for 4 years. So the doctor, he would always tell me like, I took this class, several years back regarding exodontia, removal of teeth. Take it. It's a really good course. You'll get a lot out of it. So use other, friends and peers as a resource.
Absolutely.
Because it's worth it. And some of them may be really horrible, and you want to stay away from those.
And they're out there. They're out there. They're just looking for the money. And sometimes it's just like, it's best to go off of peer reviewed, with your buddies and hey, what do you think, man? And what do you like? And
and as far as the different fields of dentistry, for me, again, my old mentor in Englewood, he said, learn as much as you can now while you're under me. Cause like you'll always have me to fall back on, so, just push the boundaries, learn as much as you can. And he would tell me, you only need 50 CE credits within a 2-year licensing cycle, 50 CE is nothing. When he first came out, he would tell me, whatever course I was remotely interested in, pay for it. And then, I took it and I learned from it. Yep. And, the first couple of years out, he would finish within a licensing, 2-year cycle with like 200, 300 CEs. Most people will just do the bare minimum, the 50, or whatever. But
we got 15 and that's hard for me to get.
Yeah. So for me, like right now, first year of ownership, I have the previous owner, Dr. Barmay, he does orthodontics, and I never, got into it, I just always refer it out. But he said, you know what, you should learn it. I'm slowing down now. It's, you become a better clinician if you just know certain aspects of the different fields of dentistry. You look at dentistry differently. So,
So you started doing
So I took a course. I signed up for a course that he recommended. It's a 2-year course, once a month, 4 hours a night. Granted that, you're working Monday through Friday after a full day of work. Yeah. Once a month, I give up that 4 hours. It's an exhausting day. Oh, I bet. Because then I don't finish until 9:00 at night. But I just tell myself it's only once a month. Yep. The course it's really expensive. It was like $12,000 and just buying a practice right out. I'm like, $12,000. I've never spent that much, on a CE course ever before, as an associate. But now I have the means to expand my knowledge and my experience. So I was like, you know what, let me do this. So
that's awesome. Now you got to invest in your education, man, because it'll come back tenfold. Mm-hmm. Now, is that conventional orthodontics?
Yeah, traditional, brackets and wires. So
yeah, what about some of that other stuff, the Invisalign, all that?
Yeah, the clear aligners. Yeah. I just went to a course this past weekend in Costa Mesa and got my certification. So I'm ready to implement that in my class.
Easy to scan it. Do you have a scanner yet or no?
No, we're pretty old school.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Hey, don't tell me you're young. So tell me, you associated for like 4 years and then you went and purchased a practice. Tell me how you started off and what you did.
Yeah. They say, I think depending on the year that you graduate from dental school, you'll hear it from your peers like, oh, it's so hard to find a job. I heard that left and right. In California, everyone wants to be a dentist, in NorCal or SoCal, it's going to be so hard. You're going to have to move out to Texas or the Midwest. When I graduated from the residency program, I came down, you have to wait a few months before you get your licensing from the board of the dental board of the state. And then once I got that, I started applying. I got jobs real easily. Really? But I think the issue is finding an office that you liked to work at. That's different. And finding days that you can work and filling the schedule. So I applied, I think, to 3 jobs. The first job wanted me on Monday and Tuesday. The second job wanted me to work Monday and Wednesday. And then another one was Tuesday and Thursday. Well, guess what? The common denominator was Tuesday. So I got accepted to all 3 after my working interview, but I can only accept one. Huh. Right? Yeah. So, exactly. Okay. So I took the Monday and Wednesday and then I had to continue to apply to find something that fit my schedule. Now I need to fill Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, So it's not really about how hard it is to find a job. It's just finding the right scheduling, and then on top of that, once you fit it into your schedule, you're not going to like every office.
Yeah, exactly.
So
which one did you like? Did you find out? Was it the Monday, Wednesday one, or was it the Tuesday, Thursday?
The one that I liked was the one that eventually I found that offered me a full-time job. Exactly. So I was working like 3 different offices with 3 different day schedules, and then finally I found something on Craigslist. That's where they post a lot of dental positions, and they said, we're looking for a full-time dentist. Our previous associate, had to leave, and so we're looking for a full-time, and I got that, and that was in Ladera Ranch. Oh, so that was way down there, and I learned a lot from that mentor, where we did sleep sedation. I learned like these full bony impacted wisdom teeth, implant placement. I mean, I learned a lot from that doctor down there. Yeah.
I think I might know that guy, but
Cashman.
Yeah. What a trip. See, it's so small in this world of dentistry, man. That's crazy. Well, good for you. So then when you bit the bullet and purchased this practice, man, what was that like? And
so it's hard. To me, I equate it to finding a house.
Yep.
It took me about 2 years when I was looking for a house, and finally I did. I bought a house in 2015. But then during that time, I was looking for an office as well. And that took, I think, 2 years. I signed up to, I think at that time, just one broker out there. And I liked the way they supplied all the pictures, the videos on YouTube, and the practice profile. And I thought, man, I like looking at numbers, and I liked the way they presented it. And then it wasn't until I met Matt, he works with B of A, and I met him at a dental convention, and he said, you know what, email me and I'll walk you through the whole process. So I emailed him, and we started to do a preliminary financial background check, which is what I call the like the pre-approval when you're looking for a home, right? Yep. So they get your preliminary numbers just so that you can give to the brokers to let them know that you're serious, that you already went through that first step, right? Yep. And so then I went through that first step, I got it, and then he said, I need you to individually contact all these brokers. Don't CC them. Don't blind CC them, individually, and tell them, hey, I'm interested. This is what I'm looking for. And please sign me up onto your mailing list. And so now I started to receive a bunch of emails regarding all their listings. Okay. And then the ones that I liked, I would look through them and I'm like, this one's good. This one's not. This one's okay. But then you get a feeling of what type of practices are out there. How much are they selling at? Yeah. Are they selling at 80% of their 3-year average collections? Or are they, listing their price above market value, above their collection rate? The trends will change. Absolutely. At one point it was like 50%, and now it's like at 80% of what they're collecting. But when I came across, I think I was talking to Matt some random time, and he said, hey, you know what? I was just talking to someone from Henry Schein, and she has this pocket listing, just like real estate. Yeah. This pocket listing, it's not even on the market yet. That's and she just signed it.
You don't have to pay the advisors.
And he said, contact her. And because I think the practice is right for you. And this banker, Matt, he has dinners with all these different brokers just so that he can retrieve this information. Absolutely. And so then I called her up, and she set up a meeting, and this Dr. Barmay, he ended up interviewing a lot of people. Pre-screening, sorry. Okay. And he would look at their resume, and he's really passionate about his practice. He put in 50 years of his life into dentistry. That's awesome. And he didn't want to give it to just anybody. And the broker told me he looked at 2 resumes, and he didn't even want to sell them. Yeah. So, no, he didn't want to even interview them. Yep. Because he didn't feel like it was the right fit. And most sellers today, they just want their retirement money, and they're going to get the heck out of there. Exactly. Right? And for him, he wanted to give it to the right person because he loves all his patients that much. Yeah. That's important. Yeah. And after he interviewed me, I was the first person he interviewed, and that was it. He really liked me. We talked for about 3 hours. It was only supposed to be like an hour meeting. Yep. And, the rest is history. We moved forward. It took 3 months. The process took 3 months. We closed escrow January of this year. And I think this is a big indicator of someone who's really cares for their patients. Yep. In his contract, he wanted to work at least 2 years from the date he sold the practice so that he can help introduce me to everybody. That is so cool. And he's 78 years old. He looks like he's 60 because he still goes biking like 30 miles with his buddies and whatnot. And he said, he told me, minimum 2 years, as long as I'm physically capable to help you, I want to continue. And I said, sure, because to me,
most guys bail. Yeah, they're like, I'm out of here. But that guy, I love that. And, he's a perfectionist. He works with us. And that's just a neat thing, man, how kind of took you under the wing. And that's kind of like I did with my house. I remember when we sold our house and we had all these offers and full price, and we interviewed the people because it was like a long time house, raised our kids in it and 20 years in it. And it's like, no, I'm giving you this full price. And it's like, no, that's okay. we're going to talk to some other people because I don't want you in my house.
Yeah.
Really. I want someone that's really going to appreciate this house and love it because this is the baddest house around. And sure enough, we went through like 3 or 4 people, full offers, and we picked the people that it was a husband, wife with 2 boys, and we had 2 boys. And it was like, man, it's destiny. And they were like almost crying, wanting it. And we're like, yeah, it's okay. We'll sell to you. Thank you. No. That's so cool, dude. No, that's really great. So, how is it working together? Not a problem. I mean, he's
cool. After working together, the way we scheduled it is he works 2 days a week. I work 2 days a week. I'm actually there 5 days a week.
Okay.
On the days that he's working, I'll jump in if. We usually have a full schedule, but if one patient comes in for an exam and they just need one filling, but there's no room for him because we really maximize the time and all the chairs that we have. But if it's just one filling, he'll jump over and he'll tell me, hey Dave, we got one filling in room number 2. Do you think you can do it real quick? I was like, yeah, sure. And he's not used to that. And for me, it's increasing productivity. You don't have to let patients, come leave your practice and then come back in. It's just one filling. It's going to take like 10, 15 minutes, so cool. And just get the patient out. They're happy. The parents are happy. They don't have to bring their kids back, and schedule some time off of work to do it. But it's been great. And he's actually there on the days that he's not working too. He has his own office and he loves just walking around, just seeing patients, and then there's some patients who didn't get our welcome letter about, me being the new doctor and all. And so, sometimes they get a little bit upset. Like, why didn't anyone tell me? We
did 10 times.
Yeah. and so when the assistants kind of hear that from him, they'll actually go grab Dr. Barmay. And so he'll come down and he'll, do his thing. Like, hey, how are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And then he'll have a heart-to-heart talk like, hey, you know what? I'm slowing down, but I want to introduce you to Dr. David. And he's a really great guy. I didn't just pick anybody. It took me a long time. And that transition, that introduction, I think was really helpful, and it's still helpful. Yeah.
So many times when that guy leaves and it's up to the new dentist, that dentist doesn't have the pull with those, and they lose a lot of patients probably. And it's just a little bit of a psychological thing with these people that have been there forever. If the doctor can do it like he's doing for you, that's the way it should be done. And even too, having him around, if he's not stepping on your feet and he's helping out with production and stuff, and you could probably always get pearls from him because, he's been in the trenches a long time. You're so young. Yeah. I think it's just a great thing that you fell into there, and everything kind of happens for a reason, I believe. And you're supposed to be there, and heck, you're going to be right there by the dang Rams and everything. That's a trip. So where are you living now? Is it a long commute for you or no?
I live down the street from Disneyland. So borderline Anaheim, Garden Grove area.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's great because I used to do my commute to Englewood used to be 33 miles. So round trip, it's 66 miles, an hour to, maybe like 45, 50 minutes during the day, and then an hour and 5-10 minutes in the afternoon. Now my commute is about 12 miles, round trip. So sometimes I get home in 20 minutes, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
They say, what all my faculty members say, wherever you end up practicing, keep in mind where you want to live as well. So exactly. The closer they are, the more peace of mind you have when you know that you can just go straight home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's so cool, man. Well, dude, we've did a lot here. What about, tell me some of your marketing strategy. Do you guys do anything? Are you doing anything? You doing any mailers, any social media?
So, Dr. Barmay, he had a website. It was a little bit older. It was just a way for people who are on the internet, which means everybody, if they wanted to Google something, that something was there. When I took over, I revamped the website.
Beautiful.
Whether it helps or not, I get my little reports of who clicked on the website, who ended up calling the phone number, who ended up using Google Maps to get to us, but as far as his marketing goes, it's really all Google reviews and Yelp reviews, to be honest. In the city of Norwalk, before I even bought his practice, I kind of did my research. I Googled him, I Yelped him, and he had 98 individual reviews, and he's at 5 stars. And I read every single, review, even the bad ones, the few bad ones that were in there, and then all the good ones, and Google reviews, same thing. Like in today's, day and age where everyone Yelps and Googles, like that's such a big key. And so I don't do any marketing at all, and we get 40 brand new patients a month. And then on top of that, our office is called Norwalk Dental Center, and so there's another office that's called Norwalk Dental, or just Norwalk Dental or something like that, And so when people are Googling, I'm just always worried that they might leave a bad review that's meant for another office. Exactly. I'm like, you're not even our patient.
No, that's the other. Well, that's why you got to respond on the bad ones, or whatever. Say, we're sorry, but we're Norwalk Dental Center, and we're not Norwalk Dental. Okay.
Another thing that I learned, as far as marketing goes, when I was in Ladera, it was Ladera Ranch, like Dentistry or something like that. And then, I always thought, it's so clever because if you're living in that city and you just want to Google a dentist in the city that you're in, you just Google, dentist and then the city, insert city, whatever. Right. And so then when I decided to change the name of the practice, because originally the name of our practice was Dr. Barmay's name. And I'm like, well, I don't practice under his name, So then I thought, what could it be? And so I always liked that idea as far as marketing on the internet where everyone's on the internet. So I just came up with, I wanted Norwalk Dental, but that was already taken. Right? So then I was like, hey, Norwalk Dental Center, it's a little bit long, but I'll take it.
No, that's kind of good though. Because that comes up first page and first usually in your city, man. Totally. So what about pieces of equipment? Anything digital in the future, you think? Maybe scanning impressions?
Dr. Barmay, as far as all the high-tech stuff goes, he did convert over to digital dentistry. So he had the digital sensors way back when. I don't know if you remember when you connect things to the back end of the computer, it's usually a USB, right? Before that time, there was the ribbon, the PCMIA ribbon that you would connect like a printer to. I don't know if you recall those, right?
I can't even turn on these computers nowadays, so I don't really know about that stuff.
So our DEXIS sensors are the card readers are on that ribbon that's connected to our older computers. But I need to update the sensors. But in order to do that, I need to update the computer systems. And our Pano, it's on the analog film still. So we have a developer for the Pano machine. Eventually, I want to get that to digital. I want to bring in an intraoral scanner. But again, we're on an older version of Windows. I won't say which one.
No, it's okay. Hey, and it take time on all those purchases, man. You guys are still crushing it now. Keep doing what you're doing. That'll come. Come. You can get the bells and whistles. If it's not going to make you any more money right now, it might. I think if there's anything out there that's kind of neat, is just it's the chairside scanners for impressions. It's kind of and the reason I say it's just so accurate. It's so accurate where impressions, they expand, and I got expansions and shrinkage of alloys and zirconias and ceramics, and I don't know. I just think it's a neat thing. It's come a long way, and I wouldn't have recommended it 3 or 4 years ago. But a lot of CERT guys are still even using that for scanning impressions, sending them to us. But these Iteros and the 3Shape and True Depth, there's some neat ones out there. But with time, man, with time for sure. What on a closing note? Tell me any advice you could give some of the younger dentists, seeing that you pretty much out any of the do's and don'ts. What you think would help them out? Just when they're getting out of dental school, what are some of the do's and don'ts you think? I mean, you covered a lot of things on how to do things, but just what can you leave us with some do's and don'ts?
I would say keep open-minded as to where you want to practice and get any job that you can right off the bat. You can be very selective if you have the means to. Like if you have money reserves, set up that you can pay for your rent and food and whatnot, then great. You could be a little bit more pickier. But when you got your loans coming straight out of school, you got to pay those right away. No one's going to put a hold on it. And if you do decide to go into forbearance or hardship or whatnot, that money is just going to climb. Just pick up a job, because the moment you pick up that job, whether it's 60 miles away.
Yep.
The moment you take that, guess what? That will be your first line on your resume that, you started working at ABC, blah, blah, blah dental. And on, January 1st, right? Yep. Great. Whatever year, 2018. And your experience just builds from there. Okay.
Yes.
And even if you're not there long enough, at least you started that history, that track record, because most offices nowadays will only look at you or only interview you if you have minimum 2 years, 5 years experience. The ones that take you right out of school, they just need help or something, and they might not be the best places to work, but hey, just take it, get the experience, network, and then eventually find your way to offices that, that you really, really like.
Oh, yeah.
So, just, take whatever job and then learn as much as you can, which I touched upon earlier. Yeah. Take all those CE courses, because at the CE courses, guess what? There are a bunch of other dentists there that may be retiring, that may be, needing an associate, that may have a friend that needs an associate, So networking is another big key there.
Do you do any conventions at all?
Yeah, I mean, I go to the dental conventions, but really to network, really to hang out with my friends. And
no, I hear you. It's like, yep, for sure. Well, that's awesome. Hey, Dr. Doan, man, it's been a pleasure to meet you first and foremost. But
likewise.
You're just very sharp, and I look forward to working together with you. We're going to give you a tour out here and let you see everybody. But man, thank you so much for coming in. And it's just, you're a young, bright star. I can see it in you, man. And you just, I can see your passion for it. And it gets me excited. It gets me, really excited when I see a young dentist come in, and, the whole thing. So many doctors, I mean, at the beginning of it all, I'm only going to work 2 days or 3 days. You went to 2-3 different practices to fill those 5 days. You wanted to work 5 days.
I was working 6 days
at 6 one point. Days, yeah. I mean, and then even working a pharmacy too, or whatever it is you got to do. You're a worker bee, and you kind of need to do that when you're starting off, and you need to work it. And I think anyone that's looking to hire you as a full-timer, if they're seeing that this guy right out of school, he bounced in, and, well, why are you 3 practices? Well, because I can only get Mondays and Wednesdays here. I could get Tuesdays and Thursdays here, and I got Friday and Saturday at this one, but they like that. I would like that as a business owner, to see someone that's out there hustling, and I'm trying to get experience. And, this one kind of fell out of the way because it didn't like this, and that, or whatever it is. But you don't want to see someone, well, I had a job for 6 months, 2 days a week, and that was it, and then I didn't have a job for a few months, and then I got one over here, and I only got, but to have it filled up like that, it comes back to you, man. And I think that's great, dude. But it's just great to see your enthusiasm, and you got a great lab here. We're going to make you look good, baby. Let's start doing some big roundhouses and some 4-on-1s, and we'll walk you through it all. But,
great.
We'll have you out here. We do a lot of seminars. We do over the shoulder programs, but man, I'm excited for you. And
thank you.
I can't thank you enough for all the work, and thank you for coming on down.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Dr. Doan, have a good one, dude.
All right, you too.
All right, baby. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Dental Up Podcast Show this week. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or search the Dental Up Podcast on iTunes for our weekly feed. Don't forget to visit KeatingDentalArts.com/promo for exclusive offers. Keating Dental Arts is a full-service dental laboratory, and we're nationwide. We'd love for you to send us a case so we can show you the Keating difference. If you dig what you heard, please leave a review on iTunes, and we'll be back next week.